Hey everybody, welcome back to theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Again, it's theclinicaltrialsguru.com. My name is Dan Sfera. First of all, welcome. If you're brand new, welcome. Make sure you subscribe. You don't want to miss out on things. You don't want to miss out on when I announce projects that you might be interested in. You don't want to miss out on literally me giving away free things with no strings attached or anything. I just gave away a book, Phil Jackson's 11 Rings, to a lucky viewer. Because they did a couple things I asked for in social media. So you don't want to miss out. Follow me on all social networks, all that stuff. Subscribe on the blog, subscribe on YouTube. Now that that's out of the way this works is you send your questions to me, Dan at theclinicaltrialsguru.com. I'll keep you anonymous, and if it's good, I'll do a video for you and for everyone else out there, for the world. Okay? So this one's a really good question. Such a good question. I stopped everything I was doing, and as soon as I got to the studio here at one of the research companies, I decided to shoot this video. So it says, hey, we are setting up a program at our research clinic and are trying to figure out our efficiency. One common business metric I have seen is revenue to salary ratio. A lot of small businesses say it should be under 50%. And our current foundation is running at 70%. Where does our industry stand on this metric? So 70% is pretty high. That tells me a couple things, all right? This should be around 50% or less, all right? Because according to according to some of my videos in the past, and my personal metric for measuring profitability at your research clinic, and I have two. Sometimes I use profit per study metric. This lets me know which studies I really shouldn't be focusing on and which ones I should be doubling down on and putting all my efforts and resources into it. That's profit per study. But this question in particular is related to profit per employee, profit per coordinator, which is really important, and I think that's what your question's about. So yours being so high, it tells me one of two things. One of three things, okay? Either you're overstaffed, meaning not only coordinators, but your overhead and your admin people, and the people not necessarily being paid to do income generating activities. For example, a study coordinator, when they have a study visit going on, or they're entering data for a study visit that has occurred, those are income generating activities, okay? A recruiter finding study participants is an income generating activity. Finding someone to manage your rec binder, as important as it is, and you can't get away with not doing it, is not an income generating activity. So the solution is to have one of your coordinators do that, or build your business up to scale to where you can have one person doing regulatory because you have so many studies and everything's streamlined, so there's so much income coming in that it doesn't matter that you have someone doing an activity that has nothing to do, zero to do with your bottom line as far as bringing in income, or I should say your top line, bringing in income. So yours is so high either because you're overstaffed, you're paying a few key employees too much, or, and I hope this is the reason because it's the easiest one to correct, you're paying yourselves, meaning you the owners, too much. And that's the easiest to correct because you don't want to be paying yourself all your profits and salary. Okay, and I'm not a CPA, I'm not a tax attorney, but I've done business enough to know that you pay yourself, if you're an owner, a reasonable salary, and everything else is dividends, quarterly dividends. You'll get a K1 schedule. The reason is because you're taxed at a lower tax rate when you get a dividend than if you get something from payroll. Okay, much lower tax rate. Every state's different. Check yours. So I'm hoping that's the issue there because 70% is high. If it's not, you either need to get more studies or get rid of some people. Okay, you got to bring that metric down. You got to bring that number from 70. I want it around 50 or less. Okay, and this is a really good metric for you sites to actually start monitoring and start looking at these numbers. It's a lot easier to get rid of staff than it is to get more studies, especially in a dry-ish market that we're in right now. So that's why I like the profit per employee metric that I've used in the past. It's just a lot easier to control than profit per study, The profit per study metric allows me to look at all the studies I have and see which ones are more profitable or most profitable for me, and then those become my most important studies. All right, so I want your number to get from 70 to 50 or less, and I don't know what the reason is for your number being so high, but I'm hoping it's because you're paying yourselves, the owners, all the salary, or maybe you're counting the dividends as salary. So just something to think about there, and maybe get back to me on the follow-up dialogue. And you mentioned that the CNBC show, The Profit, Marcus Lemonis says for small business this needs to be less than 50%. This is true. On Google I've read less than 30% is best. Those are for very streamlined businesses that don't rely a lot on human labor, human-intensive labor, especially knowledge labor, which is the industry that we're in. So you can't do 30%. I mean, you can probably, if you have enough studies and you build this enough at a scale to where you have one coordinator managing like 8 studies, and they have some research assistants, and they're not necessarily overworked, but it's not like they're sitting around doing nothing, you can probably do 70% profits. I always aim for 50% profit margins. Okay, this industry, like you said, is labor intensive, high cost of labor, all that stuff factors in. So less than 30% for Google doesn't really apply to research, although I'm not saying it's not possible. Okay, and when you have inpatient studies where you're getting paid basically for bed days for the patients in addition to the actual study visits, that's when the profits get pushed up. So I would really look at your profit per employee metric and maybe fix that, right? Unless you're paying yourself all the salary, in which case I would fix that too. Give yourself less of a salary, more of a dividend, alright? Thank you guys for watching. Dan from theclinicaltrialsguru.com, and until next time, take care. Yeah.